All right. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good week. Not much boxing news or good boxing news going on. We had the end. We had a start this week with the Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley stuff, right? And to many people, people don't really care for that fight, and they think that is bad for boxing. Yada yada yada. And then we had to end, this week with this news of Oscar Valdez testing positive for a banned substance. So I'm gonna wait for a few more people to join us. All right, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button as well and everything. It's been a few days since this news. This is not breaking news. Like everybody titles breaking news. But I want to have a discussion about it. We're gonna have an adult conversation about it. I'm going to react to the comments. I do want to read some of your comments on it. I want to hear what everybody has to say. Yes, I'm not the first to break this news. It's been a few days now. But I was able to watch all the reactions. I was able to watch professional boxers react to it, tweeters and people leaving comments and even YouTube content creators react to it. So when I'm able to bring everything full circle and everything that I've seen, the contradictions and stuff like that. So we're going to have a good discussion about this. Shouldn't be too long of a video. I'm going to discuss a few things outside of this news. But it's just the sport right now. It's just not a good year for the sport. It's not a good year for the sport. And this doesn't help anything with everything that's going on. You had a lot of fights canceled due to COVID. You have just the way the sport is right now. It's just not a good look, and this just kind of hurts it even more. This wasn't the biggest fights. Yes, there's bigger fights at 130 right now. We knew Valdez. The thing is with Valdez, I think Valdez has finally hit that point in his career with that win. He's finally hit that point where people are starting to really respect and recognize him. And for this to happen right now was just the worst timing, coming off that big win was it last year? Let me look it up. All right, the fight against Burchell. All right, so it was this year. So he fought Burchell and knocked him out earlier this year. It was in February. And he won the WBC title. And if you guys were around, and salute everyone that's coming in. What's up, Arlette, Phil, Baltimore, Yami, Curtis, Mike, and the working man. What's up to everyone that's here so far? Captain Crochet, what's up? Just checking in. It's been a lot of drama this year. Oscar Valdez gave us a huge win early this year in February, right? He gives us a fight that most people didn't think he would win. Okay, and he won the title at 130. I definitely didn't think he was going to beat Miguel Burchell, and that's not hating on him or anything. It's just that based on his performances, I remember watching him for a while at 126, and there was a point where he was taking a lot of punishments in his fights. He kind of became a fighter that was just involved in wars, So I watched him develop, and I just felt like going to 130. And fighting Burchell was just a little too dangerous. Burchell, who's been one of the guys campaigning at the division for a while, knocked a lot of guys out. And, coming off of that win and going right into this, it's just like, damn, bro, like, what's going on? Now, listen, let's just go through it. Shout out to everyone's here. Got 30 people in here, all right. Let's go into a little bit. So he tests positive for phentermine. Okay, so it's supposed to be this weight cutting, substance, right? I know a lot of people are making it seem like it's not a big deal. Okay, he's not Gerald Miller. Okay, he's not taking 2, 3 PDs or not even one. This is a weight cutting substance, right? A lot of people use it. All right. I was able to have time and look it up. Google it, watch some YouTube, watch some doctors talk about it. I listen to it, and I'm not an expert at this. But the one key thing about this drug, it's banned. At the end of the day, it's banned. It doesn't matter if you're a fan and you think that, oh, it's just a weight cutting thing. It's all about cutting weight. It's all about losing weight. It's all about this. Everybody's coming up with their different, and that's what Plant was pretty much saying. Everybody wants to be an expert on this, right? Arlette says no, it's a masking agent. It could be used as a masking agent. It could be used for that, but we don't know. I'm not going to go into what we think is going on here. That's what I'm not going to do. Charles Edward Cheese, thank you for the donation, brother. Appreciate it every single time. I appreciate it. We're not going to go into that. We're not going to do that today. We're not going to go into what it could be used for. All right. We're going to talk about what actually happened and what it means that he tested 30. He tested positive for a drug that is banned by VADA. He's part of the WBC yearly clean, drug program, right? WADA is the World Anti-Doping Agency, who basically is, okay, we're cool with this substance as long as it's not during competition, which is like what, a day before the actual fight, right? Fine, cool. At the end of the day, it's banned. And it's something it's not about who, it's not my choice. It's not your choice if you're a fan of Oscar. It's not our choice to make that. We know it's banned. Before you put anything into your body, and I've said this countless times on this channel, before you put anything into your body, you have to make the responsibility to make sure that whatever you're injecting into your body is clean. You have to have that responsibility to do that. Not your coach, not your nutritionist or whatever. It has to be you. It has to be you. If it's banned, don't use it. Listen, it's banned for whatever reason, but let's not say it's just for weight cutting. All right, well, why don't we all use it? Why don't we all, as boxers, if I'm thinking of the mind for the boxers. If it's just a weight cutting substance, why isn't every boxer using it? You know why? Because it's not legal. You're the fighter. Let's just think. I seen this guy. I see Andre Ward. Andre Ward made a tweet, and he's a broadcaster on there on the Top Rank. He does a commentary or whatever, and he would be doing a commentary for this fight. So Andre Ward took it in himself to tweet about how bad this is for the sport, right? Andre Ward says it. Some guy reacted to him. I was reading some in the comments. He said, well, are you going to be responsible for everybody else that's fighting on that card? What about all the fighters that need to get paid? Are you going to pay for them? I read that comment. I read that tweet. And I'm starting to spend less and less time on Twitter, because Twitter, every time I go on Twitter, I just feel dumber. But anyway, as far as a comment, no, Andre Ward is not going to be responsible for everybody else that eats on that card. But since Valdez is the main fighter of that card, he's going to be responsible now, because if they had canceled the fight, it would have been because of Valdez, because he failed a drug test. It's his responsibility. And this is what we have to think. Yes, it's just a weight cutting supplement, right? But at the same time, if you fail a test because of this one weight cutting substance, everybody loses because of it, including you, because now for the rest of your career, people are going to always bring up this one thing. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a PED or not. People are going to bring this up. This is why it's so dangerous. This is why you have to be responsible. And I felt what Callum Plant was saying. I like that. I liked it for two reasons. I liked it because I agree with him, but I also liked it because he's about to fight Canelo. See, if he was talking all that mess about Canelo because he brought up the tainted meat and he brought up Eddie Reynoso's team, and a lot of people were saying that they're all dirty. I like the fact that he's saying all that as he's scheduled to fight Canelo, because now you can get how you feel off in the ring. You're not just talking from the sidelines and not fighting no one. You're actually planning to fight Canelo. So you're going to have to face that guy in the ring. So I don't have no problem with his rant that he did, because you're supposed to talk that talk when you're leading up to fight somebody. He's not on the sidelines right now, so that's cool. He could say what he wants. But what he said, as far as you being responsible for your body, only you should be in charge of what goes into your own system to make sure that this doesn't ruin any kind of further, credibility. You don't want that to happen. This is your career. It's your career. Hey, before I put this away, hey, what's this? Somebody gives you some food and you've never seen it before. Somebody gives you a plate of food. You're gonna be like, what's this? It looks strange to you. You never see it. It might taste good as hell. You're gonna be like, what's this? Oh, it's that. Well, it looks like that, or you know what? It might be that, but it doesn't look like that. I'll pass. It doesn't look good to me. I'm not eating that. It's just that simple. I'm not putting this. I want to know. I want to be cleared by VADA before I put this into my system, because I don't want this to follow my entire career. It's bad enough that these fighters barely fight. They barely fight as it is. So the last thing you need is to be suspended or possibly stripped, or whatever's going to happen out of whatever the outcome is going to be. You don't want to risk that. One foot out the door says, what about the possibility, of cross-contamination of supplements? It is a possibility. It is a very possibility. It's possible. But that's the risk that you're willing to take when you take these supplements. That's the risk you're willing to take. It's possible, but to avoid at the very simplest level, you have to be as careful and cautious as possible. His team is blaming it on herbal tea. Really? Herbal tea? Again, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but that's what his camp is saying. That's what Team Valdez is saying. Now, the fact that he did test positive, they're going to let the fight go on. All right? This fight is for next week. He's supposed to be fighting Robson Conceição next week on ESPN next Saturday. He's supposed to be defending his title as well. And there's been no word of him being stripped. Mauricio Sulaiman has not, at least at this time of this video, has not made a public, statement. He's supposed to be giving us an interview or some sort. But as far as right now, he's not to be stripped. I think anyone that's banned for anything, like if a guy like Benavidez can get stripped for marijuana, if he's stripped for marijuana, then I think Valdez should be stripped. All right, for this substance. All right. Phentermine, whatever it is, if you're going to get stripped for marijuana, you should be stripped for this. That's the way I look at it. All right. Wait, do you think Valdez should have been stripped for this title? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, my phone is on. Sorry about that. Yeah, the T excuse was ridiculous. Yeah, it was. See, what I would like to say about all of this, what I would like to say is that I think if we all, because there's a lot of biases and there's a lot of people that's going around on the internet and they're exposing themselves of their biases. I've been on here for a long time. I've been on YouTube for 8 years now, right? My very first video was 8 years ago. And I've seen the reaction of these drug tests for years now. And people like to pick and choose, right? They like to cherry pick who to give a pass to and who not to give a pass to, you know? And I know you guys are going to come to this channel, like if it's your first time here, or, you know, you're going to look at me like, oh, he's black. He's going to say this. He's going to say that. Like a lot of you guys, you mental midget thinking dudes or ladies, you're going to think that. All right. I'm going to be honest. I've seen more people the other week when Errol Spence pulled out of his fight against Manny Pacquiao due to his injury. I've seen more people creating content about how fake that injury was. All right. How fake it was. Didn't have any paperwork. Didn't have any proof. They just assumed that it was a straight duck. And it might be, but they had no proof. I've seen more people talk about fighters because of pimples. All right. He's on PEDs because he has pimples. He's on PEDs because his nipples. He's on PEDs because his head is big. They had no proof outside of anything else outside of that. You know, or sometimes they didn't have even that. There's nothing physically that they saw. They just said, this guy's on PEDs because he's winning fights. He's on PEDs because he's not slowing down. His cardio is just too good. I've seen people for years talk about fighters cheating in some way without any proof at all for years. But it's the same kind of people are defending guys that actually pop dirty, like for real. Markadan, thank you for the donation. The 4 fighter from that camp have popped. And Ruiz has lost 30 ounces coming off knee surgery. I'm a Canelo fan, but the camp is sketchy. That gym needs to be under Microsoft, and Renault's should be investigated. All right. So that goes into a little bit of what I was saying just now and what I said earlier. See, this is what happens. What happens when you fail tests, right? And thank you again. Thanks again for the donation. Thank you, Charles Edward Cheese. This is what happens now. We can create what we want to create here. The camp is suspicious at this point. It is. You have to look at things that's going on over there. People are bringing up Canelo right away because of the tainted meat situation. And people are going to say, oh, nah, you biased. He's cleared. He's been cleared, yada, yada, yada. He's been cleared. But he still doesn't matter if it's traces amount. It doesn't matter. It came up. It popped up. So people are going to bring it up forever. It's not up to the fans to decide, oh, well, this is not so bad. At least it's not Gerald Miller where he popped dirty on 3 different PEDs. You know, it still came up. It was like when we were arguing back against the Povetkin situation years ago with the meldonium. It popped still. Yes, we know it wasn't always illegal, but in this test here, leading up to the fight, it popped. Oh, traces amount. This amount doesn't really do anything for you. I said, okay, all right. I understand that certain scenarios may be a little bit worse than other scenarios. I understand that. But once you pop, it follows you. Then people start bringing up other people in your camp, the trainer himself. You know, people are going to bring up these kind of things. People are going to draw their own conclusions every single time. So as a fighter, I am not a fighter. All right. I'm the guy that Caleb Plant was saying, the guys that's sitting back with his feet kicked up. But I agree with him. Logically, I think that as a fighter, you have to be as responsible as you could be and make sure that whatever you put into your body, take all safety precautions. Make sure that it is cleared. Make sure that you are allowed to take it, because we know what the outcome of this could be. And no, I do not think that he should be allowed to fight. And if he is going to fight, all right, well, he should not be fighting and defending that title. I'm not saying that he cheated against Burchell. You know what happened with Margarito? He got caught with the loaded gloves, right? He got caught with it. Fort Shane Mosley was the favorite to win. All right. After they removed that hardening package they put in his gloves, he went in there and got his ass kicked. But he destroyed Miguel Cotto. So what happened when that happened? We go back to the Miguel Cotto fight, and what did we do? I know I did. As you know, a youngin at that time, I'm looking at the fight. I'm like, damn, like Cotto's outboxing him. It seemed like with every 10 punches Cotto lands, Margarita only needs to land one. So now we're going and thinking, shit, he probably had a loaded gloves in that fight too. Remember, he destroyed what's his face? Margarito destroyed the other Puerto Rican fighter before Cotto. Damn, I can't remember his name. Let me know in the comments. You guys know who I'm talking about. It was another. This is. I think he fought on the same card as Cotto. This was up to when they were supposed to fight Kermit Cintron. He fought Kermit Cintron, and he destroyed Kermit Cintron. Destroyed him with power. And now you got to start thinking like, oh, was he using it then? This is what happens. I don't have proof of it. I don't know. I have no idea. But this is what happens when you fail the test. We're going to always think about all these other situations, you know, like the Burchell fight. Did he use it in Burchell fight? I don't think so. He tested for that fight. So I think he's good. I think he's good. But you know what? People that don't know, they're going to bring up these scenarios. Because he looked so good, and he was not the favorite to win that fight. But he destroyed Burchell. Knockout of the year. Probably still knockout of the year, if not one of them. But now people are going to bring it up. And people bring up race. People are bringing race heavy, and I see why. I see why. Because there are people literally defending this crap. Listen, if somebody says, damn, Oscar Valdez, he's a cheater, and you defend, your first reaction to it is, yeah, but what about, and then you name another fighter. You're defending Oscar Valdez. You're supposed to have that same energy you have with every single fighter that you criticize for failing a drug test. You know, get out of your feelings for a second. Get out of here. Get out of here. Exit this and use this. How would you feel for the race people? How would you feel, you Canelo fans or you Eddie Reynoso camp fans, right? Because a lot of fans are fans of fighters, right? But there's a lot of fans that's fans of certain networks or certain camps of fighters, maybe. If you're a hardcore Canelo fan, right, and you're defending him, and I know there's two different situations, but the whole camp is being looked at right now. If Triple G had tested positive, right? If he had tested positive, how would you feel? Because a lot of the Triple G people think Triple G won, not the first one, but both fights. How would you feel? You would attack him, right? What if it was Errol Spence? This is a guy that a lot of people like to go at online, right? If it was Errol Spence, if he tested dirty for anything, how would you feel? Be honest with yourself. You don't have to answer me. You just listen to me. Be honest with yourself. How would you feel if it was Triple G or Errol Spence? And the reason why I brought up those two, because those two has been criticized in my period of being here on YouTube and making content on both for years. I can tell you that I've read plenty of content, or read plenty of comments, I'm sorry, assuming that they both were cheating because of their power and because of their conditioning. You know, they just keep punching. They go 12 rounds of punching. Triple G, not so much now because he's beginning to slow down. But I'm talking about prime Triple G. Prime Triple G wasn't letting his foot off the gas at all. It wasn't until he fought the Jacobs and the Canelos of the world where things started to change a little bit. All right, he find better fighters, so he had to be a little bit more cautious. You can't just run in there and just beat everybody up. But the same with Errol Spence. People said, you know, they saw the Kell Brook fight. Yo, this guy is cheating. Something's up. This guy's throwing so many punches. His conditioning is so good. I know it's just a weight cutting thing, but the weight cutting thing is so important because every fighter has to cut weight. It's one of the hardest things to do leading up to a fight. Not just getting fit and preparing and sparring and hitting the mix and doing all these things. No, you cutting the weight, as far as what I've been told, is one of the hardest things to do. So if you have something that is going to give you a booster for that, make it a little bit easier that the next fighter, your opponent doesn't have, because as far as I'm concerned, his opponent didn't fail drug tests. So if you have an advantage in that sense, as far as cutting weight and cutting down, that's an advantage that you have that nobody else has because it's illegal. You just got to be, if we're consistent, you listen, if we're consistent with this when it comes to every substance, there shouldn't be a problem here. I don't see what the problem here is. What are people debating about when it comes to this? Why is Twitter in an uproar? Why is YouTube or Facebook or wherever people go to discuss boxing? Why are people in an uproar about this scenario, this situation? Why? It's pretty clear cut to me. I think if anybody's in an uproar about anything, they should be upset that this guy is, as far as I'm concerned, the fight is still going to go on and he's going to be able to defend his title unless something changes. Something can change, you know? Apex says, I'm a fan of Reynoso, Canelo, and Oscar. And I think he should be stripped ASAP by the WBC. But blaming Canelo and Oscar testing positive is like blaming Floyd for Tank beating up his girlfriend. That's a great comment. That's a great comment. You know? But this is what happens. And this is what happens when people fail. They want to group everybody together. I bet you if two PBC fighters were to test positive, like I'm talking about some of the big guys. Let's say Jamal Charlo and Errol Spence are to test positive in their upcoming fights. They're going to say it's a PBC day. You know? Or Tank. Or whoever. You know? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Me personally, I think if it was the same substance, I would probably be like, all right, yo, what's going on, Eddie? What's going on with these guys? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on with his fighters? What's going on? But it's two totally different things. Two different drugs. You know, from what I know, they don't even do the same exact thing. You know, so I don't I'm not going to go all into the Eddie Reynoso thing, but I see why people are doing it. And this is what happens when you have multiple fighters in your camp failing drug tests. People are going to draw their own conclusion. It is what it is. That's why it's your responsibility as a fighter, like Callum Plant says, and now look, if Plant, as long as it's, and I know people are going to bring up Victor Conte and they're going to bring up the snack program that he's, the substances he's using from them. Listen, as long as it's clean, if it's allowed, then you're good. If the doping agencies know about it, then you're good. You have nothing to worry about. All right. So look, I just hope they strip him. If they're gonna let the fight continue, I mean, I think what we need from boxing is, I think we just need consistency. That's all. If we're gonna stop fights and suspend fighters, let's just do it all the time. Let's just be consistent with it. If it's something that you fail, let's just be consistent all the way through. Let's not be picking and choosing over which one. If it's on the list, you can't use it. You need to be stripped and you need to be suspended. And I think that's all. I think if it was all that simple, we can police this thing a lot better. And when it comes to the doping agencies and stuff, I do understand that certain drugs or certain PEDs are worse than others. All right. Some give you better advantages, different enhancements and stuff like that. I'm not an expert on that. But what I do know is that if before going into a fight, if you are, if you test 30 before a fight, it should be up, and unless the opponent wants to go forward with the fight, you should at the very least, you should not be fighting for that title. And you should be suspended, even if they let the fight continue. If they are going to let the fights continue, you should at least be suspended after. But you should not be fighting for that title. And I think, and I've been saying this for years, I think the suspensions need to be a lot more strict than what they are. I think they need to be a lot more strict. I think if fighters knew for a fact that they're going to be suspended for 2 years for testing dirty on anything, they would really think about what they're putting into their body. But because they're going to be able to fight still, that's the thing that makes me feel like these fighters don't care for the belt, because so many fighters test positive for banned substances that it makes me feel like, they care more about winning the fight than anything else. And if there's a way that they can get by and risk, all right, testing positive for a banned drug, they'll do it. If they can do it, if they can risk doing it, listen, if they're told, like, listen, this is good, you don't need to worry about anything. Maybe they're not being told. Maybe they're just taking it and not knowing. But regardless, whatever the reason is, whatever you're taking, all right, you have to be responsible for it. All right. I'm going to read some of the comments. Marvin Martin says he lost 80 pounds, but he did not gain muscle in this place. Can't be talking about Valdez. TMT says, I'm not saying Fury is doping. I'm just impressed at his body transformation line. I am Ruiz's or Joshua Wilder gaining X kilos of muscle in a couple of months. Did Canelo fans force, or did Canelo force him to take what happened, what he popped for? No, again, Canelo is coming up because he's part of the camp. I'm not saying it's right at all. I'm just telling you what people are going to do when it comes to fighters that close popping dirty. All right. Canelo has nothing to do with it. I think if it was the same drug, maybe, or the same, that I think there would be a little bit more suspicions there. Canelo shouldn't be blamed, but this is what happens whenever you pop dirty. People are going to let this follow you forever, and people bring up Canelo still. I was on here with Connell Local Sports. We were on here before, maybe a couple months ago now. We were talking about Canelo, and we were talking about pound for pound, and I put Canelo in the front. And, you know, he and many other people will still leave comments saying, and I'm not going to argue them, I'm not putting Canelo, I'm not putting any fighter that has been positive for any drug at any point in their career on a pound for pound list. Some people stand by that. That's not my stance. I think that certain fighters, you know, should definitely receive some sort of punishment for it, but I don't think it should last throughout their whole career. You know, I don't think they should. You know, I know Dillian White had a couple years taken off his professional career over something he popped dirty on. And it was 2 years. It was 2 years. And this was in his younger pro career. It was 2 years. I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it. I'm just saying that it needs to be consistent. But everybody has different views on it. Some people are more serious when it comes to this stuff. You know? And I think when it's more drugs, like I see people are bringing up Gerald Miller. Gerald Miller, I said with this, I said, well, maybe it should be 2 years. I think it should be 2 years, but I think any additional drug after that should be an additional year. So if you pop 30 on one test for 3 different substances, you should be getting 4 years off. You shouldn't even be on the sport. At that point, it's so dangerous that you're just being reckless with it. You're not even trying to sneak with it. You're going to go into an Anthony Joshua fight thinking you're going to get a pass. You think you're going to get into a fight with him, taking 3 different drugs at one point and then fail another test after that. It's crazy. You know? So this is what I'm saying. I think it just needs to be some consistency, but you know, the world, when it comes to the world, every drug testing agency is different, you know? So you're never going to get consistent with that. But at the same time, I mean, if we all really want to improve on this sport and the safety of these fighters, that's what they would need to do, you know? You guys are warring it out in here, man. I'm not even going to try to catch up. I'm just going to pretty much tell you guys, you guys are warring it out, and that's cool. You know, Baltimore Rack said blacks get caught, we get suspended, everyone else get a pass. I can't confirm if that's true. I can't confirm if that's true. I know Canelo did get suspended temporarily, and they had to push the Triple G rematch fight up. All right. But I can't confirm that that's true because of this situation here. If you will elaborate more, Baltimore Racks, and give me more examples, then we can discuss it. Give me several examples of when black fighters, or when when other non-black fighters got tested positive for something, and you know, they just got a pass. Yeah, I would need some examples before we put that out there, to be fair. All right. Anyway, I just want him to be I just want him to get stripped at this point. And that's all I really got to say about that. All right. Anyway, listen, let's go into a couple other things. I didn't make up like a post, and I know we're kind of past it now. I didn't like do like a post-fight video for what's these guys? Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. No, the live is not over. I am done with talking about the Valdez situation, though. I didn't do like a post-fight review. of that fight. But what I will say is this: for me at this point, that was my first and only like YouTube video that I've ever done. And to me, I'm personally done. I don't know if Jake Paul is really going to retire. Like I see him tweet that he's now a retired fighter. I don't know if he's going to really retire or not. All right. I have no idea. But what I will say is this. Me personally, I'm done with the Jake Paul. He can fight whoever he wants to fight next. I'm done with those kind of fights. All right. The fight was a very it wasn't a good fight. You know, I think everything leading up to the fight was entertaining. But these guys, you know, Jake Paul, now that I've seen that he was tested against an MMA fighter, I've seen that, you know, I know everything I needed to know now. All right. And moving forward, I just won't no longer be interested in those kind of fights and those kind of cards. I know they get a lot of views. You know, a lot of people wanted this. Some people that wanted me to cover the fight. And I was interested in the fight because I am a fan of Tyron Woodley. But those kind of fights there, like that, they don't really have any interest in me. You know, Jake Paul, he is not a boxer. He's a guy that boxes, but he is not a boxer. All right. And even if he goes on to fight Tommy Fury or whoever he wants to fight, at this point, I'm not interested anymore on the fight. I wasn't impressed with his fight against Woodley. I wasn't impressed with Woodley's performance neither. I wasn't impressed with neither one of them. You know, I know a lot of people were making videos about who really won the fight and if Woodley was robbed and all of this stuff. I don't think Woodley was robbed. I think he did not let his hands go, and that's part of the reason why he lost the fight. All right, he had his moments. Yes, he's landed a couple big shots, and you know he was able to knock Paul back into the ropes. But outside of that, he didn't do much. And I really don't care. Like, I don't care if Woodley fights again. And for the people that keep saying that Woodley was robbed, or if Woodley just like kind of let the fight, like he let Jake Paul win. All right. It's part of the contract, which is what we discussed before the fight. For the people that are saying that, I say this to that. Woodley has been gun shy for fights for years now. All right. Those last 4 fights that he lost, he was gun shy. And like I said before that fight and the Colby Covington fight, in that fight there, all right, they made it all about politics and race going into that fight, right? They took advantage and they capitalized off the racial tension in America, and they went to fight each other, and he was still gun shy. So if he's gun shy in that kind of fight, and he's gun shy again in a boxing match, is something that he is just like learning how to do. I'm not surprised at all that he was gun shy here. Maybe he was gun shy because he didn't want to get clipped. And he did get clipped at some point in that fight. And he had to tie up with Jake Paul. No one wants to talk about that punch. Not that I'm trying to defend Jake Paul, because I'm not. But I saw that fight, and I remember Tyron Woodley getting caught with a shot where he kind of leaned forward and he had to tie up with Jake Paul. So maybe if he was gun shy, which he was, maybe it's because he was afraid to get caught with a shot coming in. But overall, I'll say all of this. I'll say, listen, we're going to finish off with this. I am done with those kind of fights. I got one, you know, I paid for it. I supported it. You know, I seen this image floating around on social media, basically showing the purses of all of the fighters that night and how much money that Jake Paul gave up for the other fighters on that card. If that's true, if that thing is real, if that photo is real, I think that was a really nice thing he did. Amanda Serrano was able to get $500,000 for her fight. So if it's true, salute to him for doing that. I think that was a good look for the people fighting on that card. All right. If it's true, if it's real. But outside of that, I'm done with those kind of fights. I think I got one because I was really interested to see what Jake Paul got as a boxer. He showed us what he can do. I wasn't really that impressed. You know, I think it was impressive as him being a YouTuber, being able to box at that level. But at the same time, I think there's nothing else for me to see from this point. All right. And that's it. You know, trying to think, is there anything else that's going on? It's not much big news. The Caleb Plant, yeah, follow him on Twitter. Caleb Plant went on a long rant about Eddie Reynoso and Canelo and Oscar Valdez, right? And how they are just a dirty team, basically. All right. And he just went on a rant about, you know, drugs and banned substances, and how he would never let somebody put something that's, you know, something into his own body without it being approved by VADA. And he went on a rant about it. You know, and you know what? 90% of what he said, I agree with. You know, he brought Canelo into it. People got upset that he brought Canelo into it. But you know what? This is what happens when you fail a drug test. Like I said, and I'm going to keep saying, people will always bring that up. People will bring it up about Roy Jones. People brought it about Shane Mosley, other fighters that popped 30 and their past, no matter how great they became or their work. People bring up the Floyd Mayweather IV thing. People bring that up still because it was illegal. After the weigh-in with Pacquiao, he injected himself with the IV. People say that it's illegal. So people use that against Floyd, and they still bring it up. They still bring it up. They still bring it up. So if people are going to bring up Canelo, just understand that it's been done countless times with other fighters. This is what happens when you fail a test. People are going to always bring it up. When Tyson Fury beat Deontay Wilder outside of the glove gate, what did they say? Well, he failed drug tests before. How do you trust this guy? You know, IVs are not illegal. It's not that it's illegal. It's the fact that he used it after the weigh-in, leading up to the fight the next day. He wasn't allowed to do that. He's not allowed to do that. I'm not saying it's banned. I'm saying that he's not allowed to do it. So people are going to bring up this stuff forever. And there's a link between Oscar and Canelo. You know, trust is gone, and trust. TMT said exactly. I was just about to say that. Trust is gone in boxing regarding PED testing. Yes. The trust is gone. The fans don't trust, not just because of drugs, but the fans don't trust the sport. We don't trust most of the times. We don't think that the fights are going to occur. Look at what's happening with Sean Porter and Terrence Crawford. They had to postpone. They wanted to give more time to work out the fight. They postponed the date, the purse bid. So people are like, nah, this fight is not going to happen, man. They're just stringing us along. They're not going to make this fight. This fight is not going to happen. Because people don't trust the sport. Because most fights don't happen. I told you guys maybe a couple weeks back, I said to you guys, I am not traveling to go to a fight unless we get some consistency in boxing. I am not traveling for a fight anytime soon. I am not going to pay tickets, pay for flights, pay for a hotel. I'm not doing all of that. I'm not going to spend thousands on boxing. At least show me that you guys can consistently have fights before I start booking flights to go see a fight. I almost went to see Pacquiao and Spence. I wanted to go. When it was announced, I wanted to go. My boy told me, yeah, but what about if they have COVID? What if they cancel the fight? You got to take time off of work. You got to do a lot in order to travel for a fight. I don't trust boxing right now. I don't. Honestly, I don't. And I don't, and that doesn't, that goes for anybody. You know, I don't trust it. I don't trust it. I don't trust the judges. I don't trust the promoters. I don't trust the fighters to stay clean, or not fake injuries, because I think a lot of these fighters fake injuries or fake COVID. Some of them fake COVID. So I don't trust boxing. Boxing has to show us that you can not just provide us the best fights, but provide us fights, period. They're not even doing that. And for the fights that we are getting, most of them ends up in a robbery in some way. If we just go on every Saturday this year, just 2021 alone, every Saturday, every main card that we've seen this Saturday, I would like to say at least 75% of these fights, there was some kind of robbery judged on the decisions. There was some kind of judge that had it so wide that you would have to think that he was there put in place. He was paid off to make that card. So fans don't have trust in the sport. So when fans are bringing up guys like Canelo in an Oscar Valdez situation, you got to understand that people are just going to, that's what they do. It's not about whether it's right or wrong. I know Canelo should not be brought up. Canelo has nothing to do with it, but his trainer does. And they have the same trainer. So people are going to bring it up. Not saying it's right or wrong. Should it happen? No. But again, who's been consistent out of all of this? The fans are definitely not consistent because the fans are all biased anyway. The fans are going to always cherry pick when it comes to this stuff. Like I told you earlier, the fans are going to always accuse fighters for cheating, even if they never tested positive for a drug ever in their career. But they'll be the first to defend fighters that actually test positive. What do we do here? What's up, Purple? Thank you. Thank you for support, man. D. Radford asks, what needs to happen to improve boxing? Well, it's, I really, it's hard to say what needs to improve because I don't think a lot of these things are ever going to change because it's too much money involved, and I do what I will say when it comes to drug testing. I think the drug testing situation, we just need consistency, right? And I also think the bans need to be more strict. I think you need to be stripped of your title. And I also believe that you should be banned for 2 years automatically. So I think when it comes to drug testing, if fighters know that they might be banned for 2 years, 2 years will affect your life, not 6 months. 2 years will make you second guess what you put in your body. You're not going to just trust your coach or whoever it is that's giving you these drugs. You're not going to just trust them and take their word for it. You're going to be sure that whatever you're putting into your body is legal, or it's not banned. So 2 years, I think it needs to be a hard 2 years. I think for starters, I think we need to at least start there. As far as fixing boxing, well, I really don't know because as far as like guys backing out of fights and injuries, there's no way to really prove if this is fake. I think the sanctioning bodies and the commission definitely listen, if a fighter says that they're backing out of a fight due to COVID, or if a fighter is backing out because of an injury, I think they need to really provide real strict, thorough paperwork showing that they failed they failed a COVID test, or they are, they paperwork showing, the details on the injury, on why they're backing out of fights. I think there's still going to be loopholes as far as backing out of fights and fights getting rescheduled. You can't completely stop that. All right. But I think they need to just be a little bit more strict when it comes to that. But again, when we're talking about money, all right, and when all parties involved are trying to meet the same goal and making money out of this, that goes for the promoters, the commissions, the sanctioning bodies, everybody that gets paid in some form or fashion. They're all going to try to make things work at times, even when it might not be legal. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We just know what's being reported to us through the boxing mainstream media. We don't really know what's going on behind the scene. Roland Curtis, I feel very lucky that I went to the Staples Center and saw Spence versus Porter in person. That was probably the last great fight before COVID showed up. Yeah, and that was definitely one of the better fights of the year. Watching that, I didn't watch it live at the arena like you did, but I remember watching it at my dad's, and we had some family over. And then it's good when you're watching it with a group of people and you guys can debate about who won, especially when a fight is close like that. Just going back and forth and seeing, in a room with people and to have different views on a fight. That was one of those fights. That was definitely one of those fights, that was a great fight. I mean, I like that Porter really pushed Spence, and I know a lot of people were surprised by Porter. I don't know why. I knew Porter was going to be his toughest fight, but yeah, Porter really pushed Spence. He made those legs move. Spence is very, really flat-footed, but Spence was forced to use more. He used his legs more than we're used to seeing him use them. So it was a very good fight. Wilkin one says, I lost all trust in boxing when Hagler was robbed of his win by corrupt judging. That scored Sugar Ray Leonard for the win. And boxing was never clean. It cleaned its act up since then. And now my age is showing. I haven't watched the fight in a long time. I can tell you my first viewing is that when I saw it for the first time, and it definitely, clearly, obviously, it wasn't live. But when I watched it for the first time, I had Hagler winning. I would definitely like to watch it at some point. That's one of the few fights that I need to go back and watch it now, as how I feel. But I thought Hagler won it, but I also thought it was very debatable. So I might watch it again soon. Maybe I'll watch it live with you guys. But I haven't watched it in a year. I'm interested. I'm curious to see how I would look at it now, because, as a boxing fan, and there's definitely fights that I've seen on here that, or I've seen that I changed my views on it after a second viewing. I think Canelo lost to, I thought Canelo beat Triple G the first time I seen the fight. But I was at a fight party watching it. I had a lot of drinks. So when I got home, maybe or later that week, and watched it at home by myself, I think Triple G edged the rematch. All right. As far as the first fight is concerned, I seen it more than enough time, and I always have Triple G win it, no matter what. It hasn't changed. So it is what it is. What's up, Star Fox? So anyway, I think I talked about everything I wanted to talk. I did make a video the other day talking about the fights this weekend with what's this guy's name? You got Lara fighting Warrington for the rematch. I think Warrington is going to pull it off. All right. I think Warrington, we got knocked out in the first fight, but I also believe that with the amount of combinations he was throwing, all right, I think he stayed in the pocket too long. I think if he's going to trade hooks with Lara, definitely keep that right hand up. I think he needs to lower the amount of punches he's throwing in the combinations. I think he was throwing 4 or 5 punch combinations constantly. And I think that's what got him in trouble. All right. He kept getting timed and countered with bigger shots. Lara is definitely a bigger puncher. I think he even just went into that fight thinking he was going to get a knockout. All right. And I think that was part of the problem. All right. He should have won in that fight thinking that this is one of the best fighters he's ever faced. And now that that has happened, I think he's going to win the fight. I'm not sure if I'm going to cover the card or not. If I am going to cover the card, I'll jump on here tomorrow. But I'm really interested in Katie Taylor's fighting tomorrow as well on that card. And Conor Benn is fighting Adrian Granados. I think Conor Benn, with his last win against Samuel Vargas, I think he proved in that fight by knocking him out in one round or stopping him in one round that he can beat guys like Adrian Granados. Granados is tough. He's a good fighter. He's a good test on a move up, but he's around the same level as Samuel Vargas, in my opinion. And I think if Conor can blast Vargas out in one round, he's going to be able to do it against Granados. Granados really, all these other fights, he had a good, decent scrap with Sean Porter, but Sean Porter is not really a KO artist like that. He's a guy that can outwork you. He's not really a power puncher. All right. But when he fought Danny, who has a bigger punch, Danny was able to drop him and stop him in that fight. I think Conor Benn is a good boxer puncher, and I think he's going to destroy Adrian Granados. Granados is tough, but at 147, ever since the Amir Imam fight that he won, I haven't really seen anything that would make me think he's good for a Conor Benn. Conor Benn is, in my opinion, is going to destroy him. So I have Conor Benn winning that fight, and I also have. I think Warrington's going to pull it off, man. Not really saying that specifically rooting for him, but I think he's going to pull it off, But I think if he loses again, I think he may retire. I wouldn't be surprised if he does. TMT thinks, you think Conor Benn is a hype job? I don't think Conor Benn is a hype job, man. I think he's good. Working man, I'm not sure. I'm supposed to be I do have plans tomorrow. I'm actually supposed to be going to dinner tomorrow, but I'll if I'm not, I'll definitely let you know. I should know by today, though. I should know by today. I do want to cover that card, though, because I am interested on the fights on that card. But yeah. All right. Let's see. Boxing with Son is in here debating about. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to catch up to all of this going back because you're mainly talking about race. The thing about race when it comes to this, race shouldn't matter. It shouldn't, but it does. We cannot act like race does not matter. Race matters. It shouldn't matter, but it does. And this is the thing. And I've said this before, and I'm going to end it because I'm not going to go into this thing. There's a big difference between racism, actual racism, and racial bias. And I think a lot of you boxing fans are getting those confused. All right. Some of you are getting that confused. There are people that are being biased towards certain fighters of a specific ethnicity because they share that same ethnicity. And, that's not actual racism. Okay. So even in a situation where a fighter is tested positive and you're going at that fighter, or if you're defending that fighter because he is the same race as you, okay, if that's bias. That's bias. You can actually have racial bias. Okay. Now, racism is more like you're just specifically attacking fighters from a certain race or background or ethnicity or whatever way you want to call it. There's two totally different things. All right. So if you're only just like, just bringing up fighters like that are black, for example, and you're just constantly attacking those kind of people, those kind of fighters, right? When the Mexican fighter or the Eastern European fighter does the same exact thing, and you say not a word of it, then yeah, that's racism. Because why else would you just always tend to consistently attack a fighter of a certain race or ethnicity? You know, that's racism. That's when racism steps in. But if you're biased to a point where you find yourself defending a specific fighter because you constantly, you have a racial, you like the fighter because of the race. Like if you're a Mexican fan or a black fan and you're just defending that person at all costs, all right, that's fine. But don't just attack other fighters from different races. You know what I'm saying? I think if everybody were just consistent, which it will never be like that, but if everybody was just consistent whenever there's news like this that drops, we wouldn't have a problem here. We wouldn't have a problem here. Like, I think the Eddie Reynoso camp, right? People are going at the camp. Why? Well, it's a lot of Mexican fighters in that camp or Hispanic fighters there. All right. Some of them people are black. A lot of those people are black. But there's a lot of Mexican fans that are saying the same thing. Like, no, this is bullshit. He should be stripped. Now, who are you attacking? Who are you going after? You know, if you're consistently going after Mexican fighters or black fighters or white fighters or whatever race you're going after, if you're being consistent with that, then yeah, we can say, okay, you're being racist. But how do we really prove that? Unless you're a content creator or you do media or you're someone that's constantly putting that content out to show us what kind of person you are. So we can go back and say, I remember when it came to this fighter here, you didn't say that. But in this fighter here, your views are totally different. So now you kind of been exposed because your views are already actually out there. But if you're just picking on a random fan and you're just saying, well, you're just saying that because you're black, or you're saying that because you're Mexican, or you're saying that because of whatever. Listen, I don't have time for it all day. I'm just going to tell you how I feel. All right. But I'm not going to act like race is not a factor, because it is. It is a factor. It shouldn't be, but it is, unfortunately. Just like here on YouTube, you have a lot of content creators that, like, you have the LDBC. You have them, for example, right? We know what kind of fighters they defend. They defend black fighters at all costs, right? So people attack them for it. But you have other channels that are non-black channels. Basically, whenever they make content, discussing fighters, and they are only criticizing black fighters consistently. I've seen it. So if you are one of those people, then why are you attacking the LDBC if you're doing the same exact thing? I've seen people have panels with groups, and they have people that's on there that's talking bad about fighters of a certain race. And if you're not able to call them out on it while you're on a panel with them, then you're part of the problem. That's a problem. But the thing is, most people are not consistent. Just talk boxing. If you all just talk boxing and not just bring up race in every situation, then we don't have to talk about it. But the fact that you guys going to keep bringing it up, then we're stuck on talking about it. It's really that simple. See, the LDBC, their racial bias is there, clearly, right? It's there. We all know it. They didn't even hide the fact that they are. All right. But there are people that are the exact same way, but they want to hide it and pretend like it's not there. You know? Now, being racially biased, as long as you call it out, fine. But if you got to understand, if you choose to take that route of being racially biased in the content that you put out, what you have to understand is that when it happens, the same thing that you are criticizing a fighter that's outside of that community does the same thing. And, you know, one of your fighters that you constantly defend does the exact same thing that you're criticizing another fighter for, and you don't criticize them for doing it, then we have a problem. You lose credibility. People don't, you're not credible anymore. But that's your choice. That's their choice. This channel, that's their choice. That's not what I do here. I don't do that here. It's the same thing all the way across with everybody. I don't care if it's Spence. I don't care if it's Triple G. I don't care if it's Canelo Alvarez. I don't care if it's Sergey Kovalev. You know, I don't care who it is. If you do the same thing, the outcome is going to always be the same with me. That's it. And I've been consistent. I'm not really in control of what other people are doing. Yeah, I see that the comment, you know what, but I can't react to what everybody is saying on here. You know, but this drug testing thing, what people are saying is true. But my problem is with this situation, the problem I have with certain people, Oscar Valdez tested positive. Oscar Valdez tested positive. No one else here. This week, it was Oscar Valdez. So the problem with boxing and the problem with the fans is the conversation should only be about Oscar Valdez. That's it. It should really only be about him. But people brought it and made it to be about Canelo. And then people made it to be about all these other fighters that tested positive in their careers. Why? You have to ask those people. Don't ask me. But you have to ask those people that's doing that. Yes, Cass goes, I'm sorry, I'll get back on topic. Oscar needs to be suspended. And that's it. We can all end this. We could have ended this 2-3 days ago. But what people are doing is when Oscar or Canelo or when any of these fighters test positive, period, no matter who it was, they always go after the young. Oh, but where were you when Floyd and his IV tested, you know, or whatever? Like, this is the problem. Why are we bringing up Floyd? People say what the Canelo has to do with it. What does Floyd have to do with it? Why are people still bringing up Floyd Mayweather? Pacquiao fought the other week. Why are people bringing up what Floyd Mayweather did? Why? Why? Floyd Mayweather is in this. I've seen more than a few comments in here about Floyd Mayweather. I saw Floyd Mayweather's name. You guys are naming a lot of channels too. I'm not going to go in all these channels. Why is Floyd Mayweather in this conversation? But people's brought him up into this conversation. I've seen a lot of comments this week about Floyd Mayweather. Why? You know, it's just crazy. It's crazy. It's sick. Anyway, listen, man. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Thanks for everyone that's checked in. And hit that subscribe button, man. I might be on tomorrow. I'm gonna let you guys know. I'll let you guys know. I'll definitely put a a post whether or not I'm gonna cover the card tomorrow. I definitely want to, but I have plans. But if I do, you guys will be the first to know. But make sure subscribe to the channel, smash that like button before you go, and I'll see you guys next. Peace.